Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light, all light, all light.
Powered by Emery Allen.
Get rid of your excuses.
Your number one source for all things landscape lighting.
That's where the magic can happen. You can really scale a business.
We really had to show up for each other.
From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
You're a scaredy cat salesman, Kurt.
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What do you think a hippo has to do with your business, Ryan?
Usually it's some weird childhood thing. Some bully kicked your butt.
I think the key factor here is trust.
Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light, all light, all light. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the number one show in Orange County, California. I guess it's not the number one show in Orange County, but it definitely is the number one landscape lighting show in Orange County, California. I want to welcome you to the show. I'm Ryan Lee, your host of Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen, here at the Landscape Lighting Secret Studios in Lehi, Utah. And we are here to really help educate and motivate to help you dominate. So if you're looking to start or grow a landscape lighting business, you're definitely in the right place. And today we got an awesome guest coming on the show. In just a few minutes, we got Miss Kathryn Toth, the founder of Toth-Lighting Design. So I met her at ILLI, and she is an actual lighting designer, you guys. I'm like, wait, what? I just identify as a lighting designer, right? But we've got an actual lighting designer coming on. So I'm excited to pick her brain and find out really about like how to be successful as a lighting designer. So it's going to be really, really good. As a reminder too, I'm not going to get mad. I'm still not getting mad if you give me a 5-star review. Since I've been asking, thank you so much. People have been giving me 5-star reviews on Apple. If you have not yet, this is your reminder. I don't even care if you go do it right now and then come back and listen, because I'm looking to build those 5-star reviews. So help a brother out and just, write something nice. I'm assuming if you got value. If you didn't get value, then disregard, right? Don't do anything. Just keep listening. But if you did get value, I would appreciate it. So thank you guys. And by the way, since I've been asking, more and more people have. So I really, really appreciate it. Also, Landscape Lighting Live, February 1st and 2nd in Tampa, Florida. I'm happy to report it's almost sold out. Happy for me, I guess. I guess it's bad for you if you have not got a ticket. We only have a handful of tickets. Remember, it will sell out. It's a tax write-off. It's a life-changing experience. More than one person has said that, and that was not my mother, right? It is a life-changing experience. And it's Florida. Who doesn't want to go to Florida February 1st and 2nd? So come there, have a tax write-off, and jumpstart your landscape lighting business. I'm bringing with me 4 mentors. And this is going to be unlike anything we've ever done. All the other lives have been good, but this for sure is going to be the best one yet, because we have like an actual team, and it's going to be crazy good. We're going to be talking about all the basics, the fundamentals of how to get started into landscape lighting, the basics of install, the basics of design. And then day 2 is all about pricing, sales, marketing. By the way, day 1, people are exhausted by like 6 o'clock, and we're like, oh no, we're still going. We stay up till like 10 or 11 playing with lights at night. It's a lot of fun. So hope to see you there. Again, this is not like a marketing tactic, but I'm just warning you, like, it's going to sell out. So if you haven't got your ticket, I've had about 10 people tell me, yeah, I'm coming, but they haven't bought their tickets. And we happen to have like 10 tickets left. So landscapelightinglive.com if you have not got your ticket. Also, really thankful for Emery Allen. And hit the wrong button again. That's embarrassing. All right, guys. A fixture is only as good as the source of light inside it. This light source is what your customers and future customers will ultimately see at night, and will result in thousands of dollars in return business for you, along with glowing referrals. Emery Allen believes every lighting professional should have access to a light source engineered from the ground up, dedicated to high performance when you need it most. At the end of the day, it's what's on the inside that counts. So take advantage of Emery Allen's world-class customer service and get 10% off your first order for new clients. All you got to do is email Tom G at emeryallen.com. It's Tom Garber, Tom G at emeryallen.com. Mention you heard about him here on Lighting for Profits. Mention you know me. He's going to hook you up with that discounted contractor pricing. Don't waste your time going to the website. Just email Tom G at emeryallen.com. All right, so it's official. I did already screw up on the show, which I try to make a habit of. I've had a few clean records throughout the years. But guys, I'm excited because I'm excited because in a few weeks, we launch season 4 of Lighting for Profits. It's hard to believe that we've actually finishing our third season here on the podcast. So thank you guys so much for your support. I promise if no one listened, I would have given up many weeks and maybe years ago. But January 9th is going to be the season premiere, season 4 premiere. We've got an awesome show lined up, and I want you to come see who's going to be with us on that episode. But we are taking a couple weeks off. So Merry Christmas. After this, we're going to take a couple weeks off, and I'm going to kind of get caught up on my life. So I'm excited, you guys. I feel really good that we made it through another season, and we're starting a fourth one. So thank you to Emery Allen for your support. They are our sponsor for the podcast. And I have so much on my mind right now that I want to share with you in the next few minutes. I was like a little like, man, I could share this. I could share this. Last week, I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I did a new thing. I did a thing called Landscape Lighting Live Intensive. This is a new product of mine. And I was with Light Up Columbus, Chris Applestott and his company for a few days. And it was awesome. I mean, it was so cool to do this like in-person consulting and kind of breaking apart his business and putting it back together and finding out what works, what doesn't, and really helping him out. It was so cool. So I was thinking I could spend like 14 hours talking about that. But we're also at the year end. And it's typically the time where people start planning for 2024 if you're a procrastinator, or people start implementing things for 2024. Kind of depends on where you're at, right? But I was talking to a client yesterday, and she was talking about kind of the state of her business and some of the things she's struggling with. And I thought of this quote, and I had to Google it because I don't have a very good memory. Like, I'm not one of those people that just quotes Bible verses and stuff like that. I don't remember much, but luckily we have Google, right? And so I Googled it, and there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. And by the way, I started like going down the rabbit hole. I'm not even sure if Abraham Lincoln said this. It might have just been some like guy in the forest chopping down some trees one day, but it's credited to Abraham Lincoln. And he said either one of two things. If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Or he might have said, if I had 5 minutes to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 3 minutes sharpening the axe. So I guess it depends on how big the tree is. It was either like a 6-hour cut or a 5-minute, depends on the diameter of the tree, I guess. But the point in the, whether Abraham Lincoln said it or not, and what size of tree is kind of irrelevant. I don't know who said it, but I do like the quote. I love the analogy. I love the picture that is created in my mind. The point is, like, are you working with dull tools? Dual tools. That is very difficult to say together. But with the proper tools and the proper maintenance of them, you'll be able to exert less energy than your competitors and gain more momentum. So if you're chopping down a tree, by the way, have you guys ever tried to use an axe? I'm not sure what percentage of the human population has, but I have. And I've tried both a dull axe and a sharp axe. And it's crazy the difference that a dull axe and a sharp axe makes. Like, it takes forever. And it if it's dull, like it bounces off the wood, And so I love this. And even in the lighting world, you have like wire strippers, like if you, after a while, they get dull and suddenly you might actually tear off a couple pieces of copper wire and screw up your install, right? It doesn't go as smooth. But if you're like me, you're an action taker and you think things like planning and meetings, like they seem like a weakness, right? It seems like something that someone who's afraid to take action would do. It's like, let's plan a meeting. We'll plan a meeting to plan another meeting because they're afraid to take action. But honestly, as entrepreneurs, we tend to just start working and we tend to just start grinding, and it seems easier and more productive. Like, we've got the axe, there's a tree, let's just like start cutting or whatever, right? But, I just feel like we'd rather just start chopping down that proverbial tree. But honestly, sharpening the axe for the majority of time, it seems like a waste of time. It's like, why would we sharpen the axe for the majority of the time when we can just start chopping? After all, when you do something like that, you're sharpening the axe, you don't really see the result of your efforts right away, right? So all you're doing is sharpening the axe, and maybe someone next to you is already starting to cut down their tree, and maybe they're a quarter of the way through, halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, and you haven't even started chopping down your tree, right? So with a sharp axe, it's obviously way easier, and it's easier said than done. But my question is, what are you doing now to sharpen your proverbial axe? Right. And obviously, shameless plug, Landscape Lighting Live. So get your ticket to Landscape Lighting Live. But seriously, like that would be a way to sharpen your axe. We've got Kathryn coming on in just a couple minutes now. We're going to talk about ILLI, the International Landscape Lighting Institute. That may seem like, wow, 5 days away from my business. Like, why would I do that? I can make more money working in my business than I can being away from my business, right? Well, that's like the analogy of like, go and sharpen your axe, like get better at design, get better at business, right? Some other things that you can do, 2024 planning. That might seem like a waste because you're like, well, I have to sit in my office. I could be out selling, right? Reverse engineer goals, just saying them is not good enough. Like really put down a target number, what you want to accomplish this year, and reverse engineer it and make a plan. Okay. Most people are like, yeah, well, I got mindset and I believe. It's like, okay, that's cool. That's where it starts. But belief is not good enough. You have to take action. And so, write down your goals and then reverse engineer them. If you want to get to, 200,000, 500,000, a million, 5 million, I don't really care what your number is, but like actually make a plan to get there. Creating a sales process might seem like a waste of time because you're already good at sales. Everyone that comes to me, oh, I'm good at sales. I don't need help with that. Like, yeah, you do. I do too. Okay. Professional athletes, that's like them saying, I don't need to do batting practice. I'm good at baseball. I don't need to practice catching the ball. I'm good at football. Like there's a reason they're professional athletes getting paid millions of dollars because they practice more than anybody else. Right. So what is your sales process? How often do you practice it? Do you role play? All these types of things. Recruiting, working on your recruiting process instead of waiting till the last minute. Like, oh man, this guy quit on me or I need to fire him. Like, who's going to take their spot when that happens? Not if that happens. Right. Building culture in your business might seem like a waste of time, but these are the things that we're talking about. Sharpening your axe, get better at these things behind the scenes so that when it comes to, chop down the tree, you're going to be that much more efficient, right? Creating a marketing plan might seem like a waste of time. Sharpening the axe might seem like a waste of time. One thing that I see everybody struggle with, map out your business. So including your like accountability chart. What positions exist in your company now? And what positions do you want to exist in your company? And for me, I never did this. I mean, it took me years to do this, 5, 6, 7 years, because I just thought like an entrepreneur was like, you just do everything yourself. Like, what do you mean hire someone? Like, why would I hire somebody else? Right. And when you start to think about your business as an actual business, you start to realize like, okay, maybe I am like really good at lighting design, or maybe I'm really good at installation, or maybe I'm really good at sales, but you're probably not really good at all three of them. And maybe if you are good at all three of them, no one's really good at all three all the time, right? So this is why it's important to add value by replacing yourself at those areas that you can't be everywhere at once, right? So accountability chart, a career ladder. So when someone comes into your organization, they don't just get a job, they get a career. And they see, wow, if I work hard, I can move up to here. And then from there, I can move up to here. And maybe they can open up their own their location with you in another area, right? There's lots of different opportunities. Compensation, bonus structure. Like, what does that look like? Most of us don't even pay ourselves what we're worth because we're willing to sacrifice for the business, right? So what compensation are you going to put in place for you? What type of bonus structure are you going to put in place for you as you get better? So I want to share that with you because it's important. And I'm probably one of the only people that are going to tell you this because there's no one else doing it, right? And no one told me this. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the business and work on all these different things. And you're constantly putting out fires. If you'll spend time, sharpening that proverbial axe, instead of putting out fires, you'll prevent them from happening altogether. And that's the ultimate goal of a business owner is how do you prevent the fire? Not how do you extinguish them as fast as possible. It's like, no, prevent them from happening altogether. What's up, Tom G? Good to see you here. What's up, Nordic Lighting? Nels Peterson, good to see you. All right, guys, that's enough about me. I told Kathryn, I said, hey, we're going to start the show. I'm going to talk for a few minutes because I'm selfish and I just want to get all the words out of my mouth so that we can have more Kathryn time. And so I think it's time to get her coming on. You guys ready? I hope you are. I know I am. I say, let's do this. What is up? What is up? Welcome to the show, Kathryn Toth.
Hi, thanks for having me, Ryan.
I know you love hanging out with me. I know you love being on podcasts about lighting. So thanks for being here.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm really excited. I don't know if you caught the beginning, but I feel like when I started my business, I was like I went to print my business cards and I was like, I don't want like, what is my title? I didn't want to put like salesperson. So I was like, ooh, I'll put lighting designer. So I identify as a lighting designer, but I'm like, Kathryn's like the real deal. So this is like a celebrity appearance. I'm really excited.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
So how did you get started? Like, I don't know if I know the answer to that. Like, how does one decide they want to be a lighting designer?
Well, I started it with a degree in interior design. And I had one professor who had a lighting design firm on the side and was a professor as well. So she kind of moonlit as a professor. And I only had one class in lighting. And of course, it was focused on interiors because that's what I was going to school for. So after I finished that class, I had an internship with Lutron, and then I went to work for ILLI. And at the time, a long time ago, ILLI was a fantastic company to work for. They were really strong in education. And they wanted to push me into outside sales. And I was like, no, that's not my personality type. And I firmly was comfortable in inside sales. And my boss was at the time was the top salesman in the country for national accounts. And so he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a lighting designer. He said, okay. He handed me a lamp catalog, which we don't even have anymore, really. He handed me a lamp catalog and said, learn this. And he said, sign up for any class you want to take. I'll send you to every factory tour you want to go on. And so for a year and a half, that's what I did. And then I went into lighting design and I haven't looked back. So it was really a blessing to have that opportunity. I took every IES course that I could, all the IES 101, the 102 classes from the IES, which is the Illuminating Engineering Society. If people are on the call that aren't familiar with the IES. They're much more technical about everything. And basically learned all the prescriptive ways of how to do my job. And then not knowing AutoCAD, I started my first job in lighting design, which was extremely stressful because my boss at the time went on her honeymoon and like got married and everything. And she was out of the office and I had all these projects sitting on my desk for the first like couple of weeks were really stressful.
Nice. That's the way. Just jump into the deep end and like take action.
Oh, completely. Oh, completely. It was great though. It was, and I was young, so I could stay up all night and not feel the after effects and,
I imagine were most of those interior lighting projects?
Yeah, no, actually there was a lot of exterior.
There was? Architectural?
Yeah, a lot of exterior lighting because I was working on exterior malls and spaces, a lot of commercial type spaces internationally. And so we were doing the design for the entire space as well as the lighting. So I was working for a company that did everything. So
that's cool. So when did landscape lighting start to become on your radar and become a passion?
I was working with Sean O'Connor on some high-end residential projects. And that's really my first exposure to landscape lighting the way I know it now. And we were working on a project with Jan, and it was in the Bahamas, and I was doing the interiors and she was doing the exteriors. And so John said, call up Jan. And I said, I can't call up Jan Moyer. And he's like, sure you can. We need to be in the Bahamas at the same time. We gotta coordinate this. So I called up Jan, and I had already at that point had her book and had been reading and trying to learn. But for the most part, all those projects, she was doing the exterior and I was doing the interior. So it wasn't something that I was really thrown into until a couple of years later.
Okay, cool. So that got you in with Jan Moyer. You start going down that. And now, I was like checking out your website and stuff. I'm like, man, I want to hire Kathryn when I become like a bazillionaire. And I've seen, like, I saw some of your work. I'm like, yes, I want that. Like, again, I could not do what you do. Like, I just want like a closet that's like decked out, Mac Daddy.
Well, that picture doesn't even show all the shoes and fabulous bags that she has in there now. Anyway, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of detail. It's a lot of making sure that you're kind of following through, and making sure that the millwork is done correctly. I've gone on more millwork site visits than I ever thought was possible. And as a lighting designer, I'm like, who knew I was going to get to know all my millworkers so well. So
Yeah,
on
no
the
kidding.
interior side, it's really fun.
So most of the people listening here are going to be like similar to my background, where it's like we didn't know that lighting design was a thing, that we were going to be so nerdy about lighting, and like we were going to fall in love with it. It was just like kind of like a business opportunity, or like a landscaper that started into lighting, or someone doing holiday lighting and started that, and we fall in love with it. What like what is an arc? You're like right now. You said you kind of your title is like an architectural landscape lighting designer. What does that mean, and what do you do?
Okay. As I define it by architectural, meaning I'm not theatrical, because I'm in Southern California where a lot of theatrical lighting design is done, or people automatically understand the lighting, but they think theatrically, not architecturally. So that means that I'm thinking in a different way. I'm more focused on codes. I'm more focused on like function, than the kind of show of it. It's much more. I'm working with architects. I'm working for architects. So that's kind of that definition. And I say landscape lighting because a lot of lighting designers don't know anything about landscape lighting, even though they think they do. And
Hmm.
it's unfortunate and it's a struggle. But that's why I like to, at least whenever I announce myself for something, whenever I'm doing the speaking engagement for landscape lighting, I like to like kind of make that definition. Like, hey, I've got a little experience with architectural and landscape lighting. So that's where that kind of title comes from.
Have you ever had like an electrician or even a landscape lighting company come to you and hire you to work with them on a project?
I haven't had a landscape lighting. I've had a lot of electrical contractors and electrical engineers bring me into projects. Happens all the time. And that's one of the reasons I think I'm here talking to you today. I mean, it's the fastest way for them to make a lot more money and to have a much uh, better designed space than they could probably bring to the table, which is usually what they say. They're like, hey, I don't know enough about landscape lighting except for how to install it. Or sometimes they know how to install it, but they don't install it the way I like it. So then I'm teaching them the entire way through the project. What they quickly learn is that they're going to sell a lot more product, and they're going to sell a lot more, and they're going to be selling higher end products across the board on the project. And I'm not part of that sales process. As a lighting designer, I adhere to the IALD, which is the International Association of Lighting Designers. And our kind of motto is to be Switzerland, not be part of that sales process. So I can specify things and not be biased, so that I'm not saying, oh, we use this fixture because I'm going to get like 25% on the sale or whatever. There are lighting designers that do that, but because I adhere to the IELD standards, I'm not part of that process. Which might be this thing that you might want to talk to me about, because you're going to be like, you're missing out on all this money. you know, profits. Hello, this
It
is a
is
light.
lighting for profit, so
But in any case, for my electrical contractors and my electrical or the landscape contractors that I'm working with, they're making a lot more money because I'm working with them, and I'm specifying a lot more fixtures than they would know how to. And that's usually where they're pretty happy with. Also, as long as their time and material, the time side of working with me is significantly increased. So we're going to, depending on the size of the property, we'll be out there, 3 to 8 nights, just getting the main installation installed. And it really depends on the size of the project on how long it's going to take. But all those extra hours do add up. And usually that's making sure that everything looks nice at night, but then their daytimes are full of making sure that the installation is tidy and clean. So it keeps them busier.
and you'll go out. So you're more of like the specifier, but I found it interesting that you're like I thought you like had the cush job. You're like, yeah, put a light here, put this here, yada bing, bada bang, and then like everyone does all the hard work. And then I'm like, wait, you and Jan and all these people are like out at night till like 1 a.m. aiming fixtures.
Yeah. Yeah. We're out there until we turn into pumpkins, or the client says, you got to wrap it up by then. Or, it's usually the pumpkin thing, because I don't know. I just don't like to stay out that late anymore. So these wonderful months where it gets dark so early are just
That's nice.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very nice. So no, I go out there, we aim things and adjust things and tweak things, and then make a list of I'm constantly taking a picture with my phone or my iPad and scribbling on it and saying, hey, let's do this tomorrow during the day, and come back and make it look prettier the next night. We especially do this before photo shoots, of course, because as soon as we walk away from a project, it starts to degrade as life happens around these fixtures in the environment.
Yeah. You mentioned, I was going to ask you about IES, but you mentioned IALD as well.
Mhm.
Who should like consider, learning more about those and potentially joining and being a part of those organizations?
Well, it depends on what kind of role you have in the industry. The IES, I think that's great for like myself, anyone who's into architectural lighting design, or even electrical engineers. A lot of electrical engineers. That's what really it was founded by electrical engineers before there were lighting designers. So I'm part of that group with the IES to be on their committees. I'm on the outdoor nighttime environments, the one committee. And we're basically trying to make sure that light pollution isn't a continued issue, because it keeps increasing instead of at least staying stagnant or reducing. So we're kind of looking at the codes and the requirements and the recommended light levels that have been previously we've inherited. Essentially, everything we're inherited, we're trying to kind of reverse and retroactively correct best we can.
So,
So that's I would say electrical engineers and lighting designers. If you're into the technical side of things, you want to be part of those groups. You're going to be automatically aware of what they're doing anyway. And then the IALD, really that's for lighting designers in particular, but we've got a lot of associated positions, and associate positions are usually manufacturers or someone else kind of affiliated with the industry, but not they can't qualify as a lighting designer.
okay. So would that be like if someone's what I call a contractor, but identifies as a lighting designer, my former self, would there be opportunity there, or it's like, no, you're not qualified?
Well, to be quite honest, I adhere to the membership, but I'm not a member yet, because I've been spending so much of my time with ILLI, which is huge. It's like this, okay, I can put time here, but I really need this week. I need like 3 weekends to fill out the forms and make sure that the pictures and the application are done.
Okay.
And it's not an easy thing. So if you're filling that out, there's also an international lighting certification as well. And I would probably do both of them at the same time, because they're very similar application processes. But I have my lighting certification, or I had my lighting certification. I should re-speak. And in 2016, I let it go. I stopped paying them the fee to keep my LC because
No.
I was so busy, and I mean, I'm like, I'm giving these lectures now. Like, do I really have to prove that I know what I'm doing, that I'm going to continue my education? And I'm like, oh, I was over it. But that's the NCQLP, National Qualifications of Certified Lighting Designers. And it does take 2 years of actual lighting design work, or lighting work in the industry, for you to be able to apply for taking that exam.
Okay.
And I would highly recommend that if you are going to pursue that, then you would become a member of the IES, so that you have access to all of their library, and that you have reading materials. And so a lot of that it's much more technical. The exam, to be quite honest, I thought it was testing sales more than designers. But after you take the exam, you feel like you did something. I did it a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Not quite 20 years ago, whenever I
Yeah.
took that exam. So,
But if,
but
if
time,
someone's hardcore and they're like, yeah, I want to keep learning, I want to keep going, that's obviously the LC, the lighting certification, is something they could look into.
exactly.
Cool. So, well, this changes everything. If you're not an actual member of IALD, then yeah, you need to be monetizing everything you do.
I know. Well, and one of the big benefits is they do have a directory. So that's one of the big reasons.
Nice.
So in any case. Mhm.
Yeah, no, there's no one right answer. So keep doing what you're doing. Um,
Thanks.
let's talk about I guess how you've kind of grown your business. You mentioned you work with architects and I'm assuming, interior designers and things like that. So how can we, the people who identify as lighting designers, how can we expand our database and our Rolodex to be able to build these types of relationships?
I really think it's just one project at a time. Every person you come in contact with on a project can advance your career and advance your client base. You might be talking to the maintenance guy at the company, but he knows the maintenance guy at another company, and then all of a sudden your name gets passed the whole way up the food chain, so that you're the one they call the next time they need help to solve a problem. And it could be as simple as working on a remodel that is kind of a pain, because most remodels are kind of a pain, but then it leads to the next big project that you have. So especially if you're starting your business, I would say accept everything and, just keep on going, because you never know where those conversations are going to take you. Multiple conversations have led to big projects for me, and things that I never expected to have happen. Where I was friends with the landscape architect on one project, they went to another firm, and then I got the biggest project of my life. Like
Nice.
that's just what happens, and it's beautiful. It's pretty fun to see. And making sure I don't know, I always take the approach of educating my architects and my landscape architects as I go, because they might not stay at that firm, and they're going to appreciate the knowledge that you're giving and sharing with them. So as delicately as you can, because of course we're all designers, right? So we have a couple egos involved in the party.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know.
It's funny because the two things that you shared, I actually just had these like prompts. Uh,
Mhm.
who would have thought like the maintenance guy of this property can like reward you this like massive project, and like they kind of are the decision maker. You know what I mean? Like
They-
if you
and if
can't
they
get
don't
past
like
them,
you, they make your life really miserable. So,
that's-
and you don't want mud on your face either. So I mean, no matter what the relationship is, you want them to go away at least, neutral.
right.
I mean, the worst case neutral. It's infinitely better when has a positive experience with working with you. So,
Yeah, I'm
it's
glad you mentioned that though. That I think people kind of underestimate when they're out meeting with people, like who they're really meeting with, and if you can't get past that first person, then you don't stand a chance. And the other one I had was I was really trying to get in with this big landscape architect in Dallas, and it just wasn't happening. They already had a lighting company they worked with and everything, and finally, I thought I was in because one of my previous clients was building a new house, and he said, "No, we're not going to use your lighting people. We're going to use our lighting people." So we got to do the lighting. It was fantastic. I got to meet the guy. I was like, this is it. Like, I can impress anyone. Here we go. And nothing. The guy did not use us ever. After that, I'm like, okay, I'm that ego, check the ego. Uh, and then about, it was about 2 years after that. One of the landscape architects, like his main guy, left, started his own agency. Now all of a sudden he's
Mhm.
calling me, and we have a relationship that now is not just one big project, but two, three, four, like multiple a year. That was awesome. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Both those scenarios are happening all the time. I feel like.
They really are. It continues to happen. I'm glad that worked out for you. And that is like the long game. Like you're paying, like, even every interview I have with an architect or a landscape architect, or any conversation, it's you're building blocks for potential in the future.
By the way, we've got a bunch of ILLI people on there: Neil Parslow, Brian Dank, Bear Black, Greg Matthews, Nels Peterson, Tom Garber. It's awesome.
Hi everybody. Thanks for joining.
Little reunion. We got one question coming in. Who designed that Christmas tree lighting over there?
It came pre-lit. Thanks, Greg.
Wow. Someone knows what they're doing.
Somebody.
So,
It made it was allowed to be in the office. So
can we do an office tour? I'm kidding.
no. We talked about this before everybody got on. I was like, nobody can see the pile of papers over there and the blanket that's covering it up, right? Like, so.
No, I won't show you. Don't show your space. I won't show mine because yeah, like right here looks really good, but that's all that has to be good.
No, it's not bad. There's a cat over there
There's a
sleeping.
cat.
There's pretty much that's it. There's no it's nothing fancy. I have racks that roll out from the closet filled with light fixtures. That's it. So
Well, so I know it's weird because I feel like I know you because we've met and hung out and stuff like that. But
mhm,
as I was getting ready for the show, I'm doing some research and I'm like, wow, she's done this and this and this. And one of the cool things about ILLI is you guys like it's one of the things is like, leave your ego home and stuff like that. But I feel like as you guys like as board of directors, as instructors, mentors, I feel like you guys should maybe brag a little bit more because I'm like, wait a minute, like I mean, I thought Kathryn was awesome, but she's also done this and this and this. Like, how many countries have you done work for in whatever?
oh, that's too hard of a question to
Like
ask
more than
because
one.
oh, way more than one. I mean, I've worked all across Europe, all across South America, Korea, a little bit. I've worked on some India projects. Definitely did some in the Middle East. Never did anything in Africa. Still bummed about that.
Week.
Um, I know, right? Lots of Central America. Only like a couple in Canada. So like, yeah, I've gone all over. But I mean, this is the nature of retail lighting. So I remember my first 10 years of my career was really heavy focused on retail lighting design. So it changes everything. You're doing facades and interiors, but not a ton of landscape lighting, but still a lot of site plan and and sometimes there's landscape lighting involved. And still like in the more recent years, I was doing, in Shanghai, in Shanghai and in Suzhou, I was out there hiking through the mud in a foreign
That's awesome.
country, looking at landscape lights and flagging everything out because that's what they wanted to do. Yeah, it was fun. It was really a learning challenge whenever I've done a lot of international travel. The scariest it's ever been was really whenever I was there with flashcards instead of knowing a lick of the language and it didn't have a translator. So I've learned my lesson. Don't ever go to a country without a translator to try to aim lights because just knowing left, right, up, down, forward, backwards, and tighten it or lock it down in a foreign language is not enough.
That's
Um,
funny.
yeah.
Well, we do have a listener. I don't see him on here today, but he's from Africa, so maybe we can figure something out to help you get
Oh,
that continent done.
yeah.
And then maybe there's a way that you guys could like still like leave the ego at home, but at least brag a little bit about the board of directors, the mentors, because like I think it's good to know who you're learning from, you know?
Well, our the board of the ILLI board of directors and all the mentor team, fantastic people. You can't, it's a team sport. I can't stress that enough. ILLI does not exist without every person contributing. It's all about sharing education and bringing your knowledge to the table and leaving your egos home and helping everybody. And honestly, like so much experience is sitting there whenever you take the intensive course. If you're thinking about it, I highly recommend it. And I encourage you to get involved because it is very similar to a family. And if you don't know the answer, somebody else is going to know the answer. And if they don't know the answer, they know the person to ask. So it might take a couple people to get to the right person to know the answer to the question, but you've got a wealth of knowledge and people who are willing to help, which is great.
Yeah. Speaking of leaving ego at the home at home, did you want to announce who the Rover Mentor of the Year was for 2023?
All right, I know you're up for that.
I mean, if
I
you
can't.
want to do it, you can now. I don't know if this is a
Yeah.
formality that
Well,
I mean,
I think that might need to be a more formal setting in order to announce that.
I know I didn't receive the award yet. I figured, well, maybe they're waiting for the mentor dinner, and it didn't happen there. Maybe it's the end of the year. Maybe it's the next session. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident. So uh,
Hmm.
no, I was glad to find ILLI because it's actually a place where I've learned a ton. I've met a ton of new people, and I also feel like it's a group that shouldn't put up with me, but does. I'm like, wait, what? I've tried to do some things that should get me kicked out, but it hasn't worked. So I do appreciate the family feel there.
I'm glad. I'm glad. We're glad to have you as part of the mentor team. We really are.
It's a lot. It's a great group, and I think it's cool that people continue to give back. You've given back, as this many years or whatever. New mentors are coming, and it was cool. Neil, I got to meet him this last one. He and I were mentors together, different teams, but yeah, it's just a good community. So it's one that I feel really good about referring people to, accelerating their design. And it's kind of interesting to meet other attendees, because there's people that are brand new, but there's a lot of people that have been in it a long time, and they're learning a ton, just like myself. I mean, I think I had been in the lighting industry 15 years before I went,
Yeah.
So you learn quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's pretty powerful. It's the only place that I've found where I can tinker and make a mistake and figure something out design wise, without being under the pressure of time. Like it's usually like if I'm doing a mock-up at a job site for a client, you have this little sliver of time and you had to come prepared with all the set equipment. But at ILLI, you have so many more options to really play with, which is really powerful. So,
All right, should we give away some money?
yeah, sure. Let's do that.
I like it. Let's do it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm going to play some music, and then we're going to give away some money.
Okay, it's the music. I really love your music.
Is this music? I don't know if this is music. Sounds.
It's sound.
Gift card giveaway. All right, that's what we're doing. That wasn't music. That was sounds. We're going to play sounds. All right, guys, if you're here live, this is your chance to win a $50 gift card just for answering a question. And this one's kind of unique because I didn't have a question. I forgot to come up with a question. And this is from Kathryn. And just remember the rules. Whatever I think is the correct answer is the actual correct answer. If Kathryn thinks it's another answer, that's fine. I mean, she can do her own podcast and ask her own questions. Okay. And we might happen to agree. I don't know. But I'm going to ask a question. If you're the first person to answer this correctly and your name is not Brian Dank, you will win a $50 gift card courtesy of me. No, I'm just kidding. Brian wins every single time. So I was just going to try to give it to somebody else. All right. So here you got. You guys ready? What? Yep. Okay. What is the correct way to secure a downlight to a tree? Is that right? That's the right question.
Yeah,
right?
sure. That was a right question.
Okay. So
I was gonna make it easy, multiple choice, but you're like throwing it out there all sorts of open.
No, this is $50. I'm not just going to give it away for nothing.
Clearly.
So we have thinking music.
Thinking.
Just letting you know what is happening. All right. So again, the first person to answer this question correctly will win a $50 gift card. And again, it just has to be what I think the answer is, not what Kathryn thinks the right answer is. Just saying. All right. So we've got a lot of coming in, but let's see. I thought we were going to trip somebody up, Kathryn, but we didn't. They're all illy.
We've got a group. We've got a good group here, so I don't know. Okay,
the winner, you guys, is sorry, Brian. Someone else commented and it made it look like you won. That was not by design. So Nels Peterson, Nordic Lighting wins. Standoff mount, stainless screws. That's what I think is the right answer. Kathryn, is that the right answer?
Well done, Nels. Of course, I'm not surprised at all.
We're not going to kick him out of ILLI, even though I have no ability to kick anyone out.
No.
Okay, nice job, Nels. We are going to hook you up with that $50 gift card. And what would be an answer that others might put, Kathryn?
Oh, they might say tree straps, so the right thing to do.
And why is...
I used to do that, thinking that it was good for the tree. I know, cringeworthy, right? The
things you think, I don't want to screw into the tree and hurt it, so I'll just do these straps, right?
Yeah, not realizing that the moisture allows in insects and opens it up for disease and everything else. The stainless steel screws or bolts are absolutely the safest way, and the tree will just keep growing. And that's why we're saying you want a gap of an inch or two to let it grow out. And then you go and maintain the tree every 2 years minimum and back everything out. So there's still more gap.
Cool.
Wow, there's a lot of answers.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Is
all
there all that stuff? Is that like five? All the
what?
all the chat stuff? Is that something everybody gets to see?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they
Oh,
see
cool.
it. They see it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I should if I had realized that, I would have been like saying hi back in the middle of
Oh, that's funny. I didn't see this. Greg put straps for a palm because he thought that's what I was gonna say was the correct answer.
yeah.
I
Oh,
almost did.
man.
I almost did, Greg.
It's not even for palm trees. We've done so much research. Even for palm trees, don't waste your time with straps or rubber bands or anything.
But I kind of wanted to just go against the grain and make that the right answer.
I know. I'm
And
sorry. I'm so proud of you for resisting that rebel spirit of yours.
I can do hard things. I can do hard things.
Do you have any other questions for me, Ryan?
Yeah, I do. We're going back to it and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Oh,
Uh, I want to ask you about maintenance because we're talking about downlights. Like you even mentioned, as soon as you leave a property, it's already in a different state than you when you first aimed it. So um, one of the things you say is like maintenance is like one of the first conversations with a new client. Why is that?
because if they are not going to maintain it, it has to change the way you design and the way you approach the design. If they say they don't want tree mounted lights, they don't want to maintain lights mounted in trees, you don't want to ever take the risk of harming the tree by mounting lights in there if they're not going to be maintained. And what's the point? At some point, they're going to lose their focus and aim, and they need to be maintained. So usually that's the first conversation I have with them. I like to show them the pretty pictures of uplights and downlights on the trees, and then I show them the uplights only. Are you sure this is what you only want? And they usually choose the downlights. They want to maintain everything every 2 years. They're fine with that. And it's a separate contract than what I've written with them already for me to go out, and it would be a separate contract for the electrical contractor or the landscape contractor, whoever's doing the installation of the lights would be coming out again to aim and refocus and maintain everything. And
Interesting.
that maintenance program can really be quite profitable, and that's one of the reasons that we produce record documents so that you can do maintenance easier um, on your projects, because without a map of where to find all the light fixtures, you can very easily skip entire trees because the transformer went out, or not remembering where everything is located is a real big problem.
How often are you going out, or how often are you going out to do maintenance?
It depends on the project. I have projects where I go out 3 to 4 times a year, depending on our schedules and when we can get there. And I have projects where I'm only going like every 2 years. So really depends on the client and what their budget is and what they're comfortable with.
So many questions. So like if someone says, yeah, we don't want to do a lot of maintenance, it's going to be every few years, or I can't imagine someone saying no, but maybe they do. You
No,
would
I do.
not do downlights?
Right. I have one of those. One of my favorite projects that I'm working on. It's going to win awards even without downlights. It's
Impossible.
gorgeous.
That's not
I
possible.
Actually, it does have a couple downlights, but they're on a palm tree on a ring, one of those metal bands that go around, and it's right in front of the house, and we can reach it with a ladder, so it's okay. Um, yeah, that project is, but it's otherwise, like they have some other huge trees, and they don't want to put downlights. They're just not ready for it. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that infrastructure is there, so that the at least the transformers and the the control system has a little ability to grow, and we can add it after they get installed if they want to, but it's not one of those things that they're going to give me right out the hatch. But with this client, they spend a lot on their art, they spend a lot on the quality of materials, and their budget basically will change to accommodate the design that they want. So after they're in the space, I have a pretty sure bet that they're going to call me up and say, hey, we want to make it better. Or we want a little more. Can we do a little more? That kind of thing will happen.
it's an interesting conversation because like when do you compromise your design, your ability? You know what's going to make this a masterpiece, and then someone's budget says no. Like how far do you bend your design to be like, nope, you're not my client, or
Well, you never want to do that. It's a lot of it is education. Just they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what that level of downlighting will add to the texture and the dynamic composition of the design. They don't understand what it's going to bring. So as they know, or as their budget can accommodate, and remember, landscape lighting is the last thing that goes into the space. As they are going to be impacted by the amount of windows and views out to the landscape, it really matters. It changes everything. So I feel fairly certain that on most of these, well, I have 2 projects right now that have downlights only, and I'm kind of horrified by it. But I know that in the future, there's a potential of, adding it in. So it's not the end all be all for these projects.
interesting. So, and then when you go back to do your maintenance, I just want to make sure I heard this right. You're going back along with the installer at night to do the aiming.
Yeah. Yeah, usually day and night visits, because I'm looking at, there's a lot you can see during the day. And if you can't, then you will with experience. You're going to notice all the, this fixture, cleaning things out, all that stuff can happen during the day. There's so much that happens during the day, but then at night you can really kind of fine tune and tweak things.
Okay. Yeah. So you'll go back at night, just like maybe it's just a one night aiming session at that point.
Usually 2. It depends on the project size, really. But usually it's a 2-night thing. Because sometimes you can't identify the problem until it's at night. And then you identify the problem and you might not have the parts and pieces or the time to resolve it. And then you can mark it for the daytime. So the next day you can come back during the day and fix whatever problem there was. And then the second night you can finalize everything.
Do you have like a small project that like, would you go and just install a couple lights for someone? And do you have like a large project, like the largest number of fixtures that you want to brag on for a second?
I haven't counted them recently, but I can get you that number in a couple of weeks when I finish the record documents. It's a lot. And it's
20,
never done.
lights.
It's what?
At least 20 lights, right?
A couple hundred. A couple hundred.
I know, I'm
A couple
kidding.
more than that. It was, I don't know, it was a couple $1 million. It was three quarters without the add-ons that we've had. So we've had a lot of, yeah, no, it's nothing like what Greg does or what Blue Island does. Like there's a different level, but that's what they do every day, and I don't sell them. So I mean, there's this other part where I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't sell it, so I don't really know exactly how much on the cost side it is. But there are some projects where it's really small. If they only have a small budget, do one thing well. So like on these projects where they have the uplights only, if they cut a whole bunch, I'm going to do at least one tree really, really good and shift things around. On some of my multi-residential, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be like, okay, what can we, because instead you're going to get 2 lights on a tree, and 2 lights on a tree is just never going to do it for you. So I'm going to shuffle, hey, the quantity is 2 lights per tree that I'm allowed to use. And then I'm going to shuffle it. So a couple of trees look really good.
Okay. That's a good kind of like angle. So would you then leave trees just unlit so to move those lights over to this one to deck it out?
Pretty much.
Okay.
There are some that just don't need to be lit.
Okay. Do you ever have any where you're like, man, this tree needs 5 lights and it only has 2?
Oh yeah.
It is
Or
what
10.
it is.
Or 10, depends
Yeah.
on, I'm sorry. This is me we're talking to. It's like, well, how many lights do you have? Oh, maybe 8. Like, that's.
You're still willing, even though it needs 17 lights, you're still willing to put 2 on it.
No, I'm not happy when that happens.
Okay.
So I'm making the kind of judgment call. The client says they only want 2 lights on a tree for their budget purposes. And then I'm going to talk to the landscape architect and shuffle this. And this is literally a meeting I'm going to have, was supposed to happen today, and it's going to happen on Thursday instead with the landscape architect. And we're going to pick, okay, these are the really important areas, right around the pool, and then right around here, and right around here. And then everything else can be minimal or, not lit at all.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right.
It's commercial projects are no fun. Stick with residential. It's way more fun. You have so many more like things that you can do.
Well, I think the residential is like you're dealing more with the human being aspect, and like they want what they want and they get what they want. Where commercial is more just it's more utilitarian. It's like they're not as attached to it emotionally, I feel like.
It's all about the maintenance and the ease of maintenance at that point. At some point with the commercial projects.
All right. There's a shortage and the world changes and you get one color temp to use the rest of your life. What Kelvin are you going with?
2700 Kelvin. That is a really good question. I used to be a 3000 Kelvin fan, and now I've just kind of switched gears. I just feel like the cozy looks a little better, even though on green it doesn't look great. But I'm in California, so our green isn't that green anyway, because everything's like cooked. It's either cooked or it's spring green. Like it's very, very rare that we have rich greens. So
green's the new brown, or brown's the new green, however.
Yeah, like it's greenish brownish. Mm-hmm.
How often are you mixing up color temperatures on projects?
I try not to, but if I can, it's by type. And so like the path lights are all 2700 Kelvin and everything else is 3000 or something like that. Depending on the ground plane. And, if they have a lot of gray, then 3000 Kelvin's a better bet for like any like patio surfaces or facade for surfaces. It really depends on a lot of the color choices, but 27K is my favorite.
Awesome. And I've never asked anyone this. If same question, but beam spread, you had to choose one you have a 2700K light. You only have one. What would it be?
If we're talking about uplights and downlights, one
spotlight, yeah, and it's an up and a down. It's all the same.
It'd be a 60 degree beam.
All right.
Yeah, that's not going to work for everything, but a 60 degree beam.
No choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've known designers that Greg Yale designs a lot with like 60 and like wider beam spreads. 60 and 40, I think they were pretty much his two. But his aesthetic is completely different than Jan's, but so beautiful. It's extremely unique to see, some beautiful things that he's made. Anyway, so I'm not the only one who prefers that color temperature and beam spread.
No, that's cool. All right, so let's give a little plug for ILLI real quick. The next one's coming up when?
The first week of March, the end of February. It starts on February 29th.
Okay, cool. And it's where's it located?
In
Oklahoma.
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 Chickasaw. I think it's Chickasaw, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
In Oklahoma, but you fly into Dallas and then take a shuttle to get there, and it's really pretty close to the airport. I mean, it's like within an hour and a half from the airport. Okay,
cool. It's ILLIEDU.org. So if you guys are looking to get tickets, it's going to sell out again. So it's ILLIEDU.org. Who should go to ILLI?
Everybody who hasn't been there before, who does anything with landscape lighting or exterior lighting, I think they will find it extremely beneficial to their career and their path. I mean, I just can't even stress this enough. So many people say that I didn't know what to expect, and then everybody's like, wow, what a game changer. And it seriously is a game changer for so many people that come. So I just encourage you, if you haven't taken the class, reach out to somebody who has. We have a find a member page, and in there you can see people who've taken the class already, and those who have not. You can even search by things, and so reach out to somebody, ask questions, and we're happy to help.
Awesome. And how does someone get a hold of you if they want to, partner up on a project? And
You
Make
can
some
just
money.
shoot me an email or give me a call. Find me on my website. I'm also on the ILLI directory as well, so can reach out anytime. Be fun to work on projects. It's always fun to work on projects with friends. So
Cool. I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for taking the time and sharing your wisdom and all that stuff. I really appreciate it.
thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate being here and being asked.
All right. Hey, guys, have an awesome week. Have an awesome Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We're taking a couple weeks off. So don't forget, January 9th is our season premiere for season 4. Don't forget to go give me a 5-star review on Apple. Thank you. Merry Christmas.